been a hot minute since I reacted to Boros City, so today I got you all with another video. I'm gonna do two parts to this because I have a long day today, guys. Like I have a bunch of stuff to do. Like if anything was removed here in the background, you guys would understand why I'm saying I have a long day. So I'm gonna do two parts to this, but we're gonna be reacting to Boros City. Talking about how you know the recent BTS members solo projects, the way they have been advertised or promoted. Was it favoritism or just a proper strategy? So we're gonna get into it. It's 41 minutes, so we're gonna do two parts, 20-minute each, and then yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button, like the video, and let me know your thoughts in the comment about this. Sorry, give me a second. All right. Let's get it.
Artists, let's analyze why their projects are also different. It's not only about the different genres and sounds, it's also about the differences in the style of promotions.
Give me a second. Let me just turn on the caption, okay?
Target audiences and results, because this is the reality. A BTS member had a global tour, but another member had one concert at a festival. Another member only had one small venue concert, and another member didn't have any concerts. A BTS member had 3 physical albums, but another member only had 2. Another member only had 1. Another member only had 1 CD with no photo cards, stickers, and other things the other albums got. But another member didn't get a physical album that charts could count when he first debuted. A BTS member had promotions in the US, the UK, and South Korea. But another member only promoted in the US and Korea. Another member promoted in Korea and Japan. And another member barely did any promotions. A BTS member debuted a #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and his song was the #1 song worldwide for weeks on a row. But another member only debuted a #1 on the Hot 100. Another member almost entered the top 50, but another only entered the top 100. When you phrase things like this, conflict awaits. Fans complain about
I'm trying to see, where she's getting with this, or where they're getting with this, actually. I don't know who's behind this account, so sorry about that. But I'm trying to see where they're getting, with all this point that they're making. Obviously, like, it's opening your eye to, what has been happening between all the members, the way they promote the stuff. But then, at the same time, you kind of also understand they can't promote the exact same way, they did with the other artists. Obviously, they are all different, and, whichever make money, for the company and the actual artist, good for them, But if they always got to take different approach. That's all I'm trying to say, Just because the other way of strategy work for the other artist doesn't mean everybody under that, under that level has to do the exact same thing. No, they're gonna take different approach to it. So let's see what they're talking about, though.
Equal support by the label, unequal support by fans, and of course, unequal results. But I think these comparisons are unfair and at this point, malicious. Because if you really think about the intention of each project, you can see the different visions the BTS members had for their solo music careers.
There you go.
If you really want to measure promotion efforts and success, let's talk about how each promotion schedule helped gain the attention of their specific target audiences. And let's also realize that some promotions are actually counterproductive for some members but beneficial for others. You may think I'm crazy, but sometimes a #1 on the US can hurt an album's chances to be consumed by certain audiences.
There you go. And also, I'm gonna try my best to not pause, but at the same time, I have to pause to be able, to talk. Or this is just me just watching, and it'll be just pointless. But there you go. Like that goes to talk to you about, how some of other members, can hurt other people way of making it on top of the chart. Because we know when BTS members drop, it's just the world is gonna be on chaos, with the music. Like we know that for sure, it's guaranteed, right? So they also have it work in a way that other members don't conflict, with other member work. And as they mentioned, they all have different vision, when they come to doing their own stuff. It's different if they were both doing a group project and then it's promoted differently. But the fact that they're actually working differently, like they all have different styles, the music, so they're not gonna do the exact same thing that the other person did just because it did well for them. No, they're gonna do their own thing, so they attract different audience. You know what I mean?
course, other times it can help the project, but it all comes down to the artist's vision and target audience. So I'll try to explain why I don't think any BTS member, song, or album has been sabotaged by Big Hit, HYBE, ARMY, and much less BTS. After analyzing every single piece of promotion, I actually think that every promotion decision has been smart and effective.
Of course. Yeah. Hey, shout out to J-Hope, man. That song, I forgot what is it. What is it? What is it? It's coming on my mind, but it just keeps escaping me. Ugh, I love that song. Is it on here? It's on, but it probably doesn't have the title. But this song was insane, man. I loved it, okay? But they're going to talk about J-Hope first, so let's get into it.
The member who started the BTS solo era was J-Hope. Like the other members part of the rap line, J-Hope released his first solo project as a mixtape. This is not his official solo debut. Hope World and the other solo mixtapes did not have official promotions, but they were shared on social media by Big Hit. These type of projects were side projects shared for ARMYs as a gift or as extra free music. This is important to highlight so we can understand why some BTS members do certain promotions and not others. Confused ARMYs and J-Hope solo stands can say that J-Hope's Jack in the Box debut album was sabotaged by Big Hit and HYBE because it was released with no physical versions and no performances in Western TV shows or K-pop shows. These three things are expected in a regular BTS promotion schedule, but this is J-Hope's solo career, so look at what he did do and conclude what new audience he wanted to attract. For what I can see, J-Hope wants his debut album Jack in the Box to be a long-lasting record listened to not only by ARMYs but also by global fans of hip-hop, people who are actually...
Right, and you know, now that she mentioned those three stuff, ARMY and just everywhere. His goal was for the album or that little project to be heard and be a long term thing that people actually listen to. And to be able to do that, there's certain promotion you have to sacrifice. You know what I mean? There's just certain thing you wouldn't do because of the budget. Like if we were trying to target everything, like we'll spend a bunch of money that it just wouldn't work out. So you also gotta understand that they're limited to what they can spend on the budget of what they want to do in that specific time of the project.
Interested in hip hop as a genre.
Oh, J-Hope. He got ambitions to go worldwide.
And J-Hope is not necessarily going to attract this specific audience by performing on K-pop TV shows or American TV shows like Jimmy Fallon and Good Morning America, watched by an older American demographic. Actually, if he did, he will probably lose the specific audience he's trying to attract. For what I can see, he is not interested in the general public listening to the Billboard Hot 100 songs. He prefers promoting to an audience interested in hip-hop no matter the language. This is a tricky audience to target, but I think every decision he made was perfect. To start, J-Hope was the first and only BTS member to launch his album with a listening party. If you pay attention to the artists he invited, you can see that these are mostly indie hip-hop artists. Most of them
that also comes with like knowing your audience. You know what I mean? Like it'll be brainless for him to promote his stuff to an audience that normally wouldn't even listen to hip-hop. Like how he mentioned, like he doesn't want to do it on Jim Fallon when it's just a bunch of old people. Obviously they did listen to hip-hop during their era, but it's more advanced now for them. So it's like and it's crazy to me because I literally had a thought yesterday about this. Like, would you, if you were in a specific genre of something, like it can come to sport or just music or anything in general, like if you were to start your own business, would you just stick to that same route of hey, this is my genre, I'm just gonna stick in that lane? Or would you like to just expand it and do something that is connected to that same genre, but you'd rather open more doors to your business? Like I was literally thinking about this last night, and hey, this is crazy.
Are not mainstream, but they are respected in the South Korean hip-hop and alternative music scenes. This listening party sets the tone for the rest of his solo promotions. J-Hope's debut solo performance was as a headliner in Lollapalooza 2022 in Chicago. His concert had an audience of over 100,000 people, including ARMYs, the general public, and of course, curious hip-hop fans. This strategy was extremely successful because after the event, there were a lot of hip-hop fans listening to the music of a BTS member for the first time, whether in person or online. This event also gave J-Hope the opportunity to meet and then record a song with.
You see what I mean? Literally, he had a vision on his mind, and he ended up doing a collab with probably one of the greatest rapper in the rap history right now, J. Cole, right here. And they did a work together and they kill it, you know? So it's like more of like you envisioning what you want to get in the future. It's like an investment, you know what I mean? So it's not more of like, oh, I want everything to happen my way. It's more like, okay, I want this to happen my way, but you know, I'm gonna take the long route for it to happen.
With the artist who inspired his name, J. Cole. This collaboration and his concert at Lollapalooza gave him an attractive image to this specific audience, the type of audience who prefers simple individual or one-on-one conversations with no audience and a minimalistic or improvised backstage set. These are the only type of interviews he did, and it was intentional, in my opinion. The only exception was his interview at the Seasons, but this is also very strategic because this is not a K-pop show watched by K-pop fans. Unlike K-pop shows, the Seasons has long interviews with no rehearsed answers by idols doing Aegyo and an ending fairy and performing a choreography with playback. For this same reason, the interviewees, the performances, and the audience watching the show are different. Thanks to this, J-Hope has the freedom to do a more personal performance he wouldn't be able to do.
Also, it's more like you as an artist, you know, would you rather you put your whole energy into your music and, you know, give it to an audience where it's gonna be like, they're definitely showing you what you needed, you know, as a response for what you did and what you put into that work? Or would you rather you promote your work to audience that don't even know what the hell is going on, you know, like they look like they're lost when you're performing, you know? You know, it's just like making the smart choices. Obviously, those are the most basic stuff that, you know, you can think of, but if you're coming from a point of view like, oh, it was favoritism, or, you know, just like they didn't put in the work, no. It's more like, to me at least, what I think, they sit down with the artist, they're like, what do you want to do? If the artists give a little bit of an idea, they can, you know, contribute to it, and then if the artists like it, they're like, oh, let's go along with it and, you know, find even more stuff. So
On a K-pop TV show. The last thing to note about J-Hope's solo
Arson!
debut is the pace of promotions. He didn't do every interview and performance the first 2 weeks of the album release. This could put his Billboard and Korean charts positions in risk, but that's okay because that was not his goal. He actually performed in Lollapalooza 2 weeks after his album release, and he continued with promotions with months in between each promo. Almost 5 months after the release of the album, he performed at the 2022 Mama, which let him do a unique stage with no choreography. Then, 6 months after his debut, J-Hope performs at Times Square New Year's Eve. 7 months after his debut, he releases and promotes his J-Hope in the Box documentary on Disney Plus and has an interview on a popular YouTube channel. 9 months after the release of his album, he performs and has an interview on The Seasons. As you can see, the promotions are focusing on longevity more than on day one success, so J-Hope's records reflect that. Here comes the biggest complaint. When J-Hope released Jack in the Box, the physical album did not come with a physical CD. They came with most small things you would get in a regular BTS physical album and a QR code to listen to the songs on the Weverse Albums app. This code replaced the CD, and for that, it did not count on Western charts like Billboard. Since this was the first time BTS did this and the Weverse Albums app is a new app by Hype, people accused Hype of affecting J-Hope's debut numbers, of purposefully sabotaging him just to promote their streaming app. But again,
no, bro, come on, guys. You know, it's that's the problem. You know, when people are introduced to something new that they're not used to, they just tend to, like, you know, go into panic mode and just start giving out, you know, some thoughts and, you know, opinion that really weren't necessary. You know, it's like, at the end of the day, this is music, you know. J-Hope can do like a full-on, let's say for instance, Arson, you know. It's a complete different song compared to another song that he did that, you know. It's a complete different song compared to what he did with, you know, J. Cole, you know, the collab that he had with him. It's a complete different vibe, you know what I mean? So those two songs, you know, there's preference. Me, I prefer if a song was hyped but also kind of, you know, in the feelings. You know what I mean? Like, I prefer those kind of songs. But if you give me like a full on just sad or, you know, anything like that, obviously it's gonna get to me. But, you know, I'm not gonna give my energy to listen to it as much as, you know, listen to Arson. Also, go check out that reaction I did to it. But, you know, you guys should also understand from the other point of view, you know, like, oh, this is an artist. They're trying to, they already know they have an audience, you know, they showed you what they're capable of, but then they're also trying to go beyond of what you always expect of them. You get it? They're not trying to do everything that you always know they're going to be able to do. They're trying to go beyond what you never thought they could do after they reach that. They're trying to go beyond that every time, you know? So you guys gotta understand.
Look at J-Hope's overall promotions. Every interview or performance was far apart. This doesn't mean that the promotions are bad. Actually, these type of promotions are very common with Western artists because they are less exhausting for both the artist and the audience, and it can improve longevity. It's true that he released his debut album almost exclusively on digital platforms, but 6 months later, he released a well-produced vinyl record, and now, more than a year after the debut week, he released physical albums that count toward the Billboard charts. These are the type of promotions you have when you want your album to be discovered and remembered by fans time and time again over the years, not just the first 2 weeks. This helps with longevity and helps his desired audience, hip-hop listeners, have multiple chances of discovering his music. The unique performances and simple interviews that will be discovered will not disappoint this audience because these are the type of performances and interviews they already enjoy. So the results successfully match the promotions.
Before we go to the next member promotion stuff, do you guys get it? Especially when it comes to hip hop, it's so competitive where, you know, people are literally killing each other, okay? Obviously, that isn't the position where, you know, J Hope is in it, but do you guys get the image? It's a place where you're trying to, you know, set your footprint or like put your footprint there, you know, for it to be remembered in the long run. It's not for you to just, you know, be known for a little bit and then, you know, people forget about you. It's more of like, I'm trying to leave something, a mark here that, you know, people are going to actually know who the hell I am in this game, you know? It's so competitive that if you do just one thing that people knew you for and you stop doing it, you're just gone, you know? You don't even get remembered or, you know, people doubt what you're capable of. For instance, like if you just do follow hip hop and you're like a J Hope artist, you should be able to know who Route Rich is, you know? You guys know him. He came out with that popular song Box and it went crazy. And then literally albums right after that, everybody was questioning who he was after he dropped a project and they didn't like what it was. Or the expectation that they had for that album wasn't what they, you know, they got. So where is he right now? He's back in the lab trying to, you know, get back where he was. But, you know, some artists like J Hope knows how to do this shit, or, you know, the label know how to actually help the artist, you know, be remembered by the audience that, you know, he attracted. And, you know, they're like, when is he gonna drop something? You know what I mean? And they're not gonna be disappointed. So big shout out to them, man.
Next, we have Jin's solo debut single, The Astronaut, which he released as a See You Later song before going to the military. The biggest complaint I've seen about Jin's debut is from solo stans saying that this is not a proper debut because most members had album debuts, but Jin only had a single. The assumption is not that Jin decided to release a single, but that HYBE and even BTS are at fault because Jin said that he wanted to go to the military earlier during the summer, right after the end of the Proof promotions in June. Therefore, according to some people, Jin was forced by the other BTS members and their label to wait until October for their unexpected Busan concert. So he had no choice other than to go to the military on the winter and quickly release The Astronaut after being busy with everything. This gave him only days to promote his song, so there were no interviews in America and no music shows in Korea. He only performed as a guest artist in Coldplay's concert in Argentina. However, you don't need to be a genius to realize that The Astronaut was not made for the general public's consumption. Like Jin said multiple times, he wanted to make one song for armies before going to the military. He talked to Chris Martin from Coldplay about the kind of message he wanted to transmit, and Chris Martin produced the song specifically for Jin. This was not meant to be an official debut with a non-army audience in mind. This doesn't mean that it was an abandoned project. The Astronaut is Jin's official debut single and had 2 physical album versions, a music video, a lyric video, a live stadium performance, official merchandise, and even a show of 4 episodes with a vlog style. He also had 5 interviews, 1 by himself, 1 with Suga, and 3 in relaxed, non-serious settings, 2 for YouTube channels and 1 for TV. All of these interviews and shows helped him relax and comfortably talk in his native language about his life and future. So once again, this BTS solo project was successfully recognized by its desired audience, in this case, ARMY. We would have to wait for Jin's.
Yeah, I don't know that much really about, this member. And if you guys want me to check out some of his stuff, you guys let me know in the comment. Because I think I've checked out every other member except him. So you guys let me know if you guys want me to check out any of his work. But to me, it sounds like... Honestly, I don't have an input because they pretty much just said everything, that might have been the plan behind it. Obviously, you don't want him to drop an album for him to just go to military, and we don't know for sure if what the fans were circulating with was actually true. Them having to force him to do something that he wasn't going to do to begin with. I don't think so, man. Unless the label actually come with a proper, hey, this is what happened, and then shit happens. He did agree to it, and he probably saw what other people were trying to see for him, but I don't think that was the case. So let's...
His solo debut album after his military service to know what kind of music style and new audience he wants to pursue.
Hey, man. I hate them ads, though, not gonna lie.
The next BTS member to officially debut was RM with his album Indigo. What I've seen people saying is that ARMYs did not support RM's debut like we supported the other solo debuts. But once again, pay attention to the type of audience who is actually listening and RM is promoting to. As part of Indigo's promotions, RM accepted only 4 interviews, all of them in the format of a long conversation. These were for the Sex Sense show, hosted by an American interviewer he trusts, the P6 show, hosted by comedians who interview mostly hip-hop artists and who Namjoon is a fan of, Sutrita, hosted by his BTS bandmate Suga, and KBS News, a pretty serious South Korean news show. Namjoon chose these 4 shows wisely, and he made sure ARMYs knew why he really wanted to do these interviews only.
This is the only YouTube promotion for my whole album. Why? I've watched every show. When it comes to interview, what popped up in my mind first was you. I told the label that if I have to interview with somebody, it's gotta be Zach #1.
Brother, thank you. Your kindness and your trust means the world to me.
So why these shows? If you watch these interviews, you can quickly realize he had his album and the album's production process as the main topics of conversation. Most interviewers don't ask RM meaningful questions, and if they do ask important questions about the music, they don't care or they don't understand the answer. Most interviews have superficial conversations.
Do you guys like to dance at your shows? Do you do a lot of dancing?
See what I mean? And also, as an artist, has anybody, who has any kind of, work that you do, you want to have a successful outcome out of it, and, something that you really wanted to get out of it. You can't just do a project just to do it just because, people want you to do it. You got to have a strategic, outcome out of it. You know what I mean? Like, as they mentioned, like, he didn't want to just go to somewhere they just ask some superficial, questions. He wanted people to actually go in depth, and ask him some questions that will actually get him to talk about what, it means to him to work on this project. What is his goal for the audience, to get from this work? Like, there's just a bunch that goes into it that, people oversee just because they're not trying to go, the same direction as the artist and, the label. But the label is just a supporting bone here. The artist is the main leader when it comes to, what they want with the work. Like the label is gonna do it because also if the artist doesn't succeed, then the label doesn't succeed. That's how it works, at least to my knowledge. Okay, so if all these BTS members weren't doing, something that benefit them, I don't think the label would have accepted them, to do whatever they did. Because if the artists don't make money, they don't make money either. So they had to go with the way, the artist is thinking and like make sure their mind is, in the right direction. So
춤 추는 거 좋아하시죠?
Yeah, of course.
You guys are all together, but you didn't bring your girlfriends.
When someone knows and recognizes you, do you have to run away?
Do you ever get tired of each other? Do you guys ever just...
So Namjoon chose people he knew would understand and care about his process of creating music. That was his priority. Indigo is not the general public's favorite type of album, and Namjoon knew that. So if there's a new type of audience he would attract after his official solo debut, it's the type of audience who likes indie, underground music. The type of audience who enjoys discovering unknown artists and who appreciates less mainstream genres like neo-soul, boom bap, urban, city pop, and folk. This is why the only performance he did for American media was for NPR's Tiny Desk concert series. The setting is more personal than most mainstream shows, and a lot of enthusiastic music fans want to discover non-mainstream artists as well as watch popular artists relax in this type of unplugged acoustic setting. So a confident yet vulnerable performer and great lyricist like RM shines the most in this type of settings. This is why instead of having a worldwide tour, he chose to give one concert to an audience of only 200 people. This concert has some of the artists who featured in his...
No, and also, like I've mentioned before, when they were talking about J-Hope promotion, like, which one would you choose? Would you choose to do something that, people actually appreciate, or, people who look lost and, you're confused, like, why are they lost? They should be able to know, what you're trying to do here. It's just like, you gotta find people who have the same thing in common, or like people who are willing to accept, hey, this isn't what I have in common with the person, but they actually got it and I want to know more about them. You know what I mean? So all this decision making obviously is finalized by the label, but the label mostly use, the idea that the artists bring to the table, and, they just add little pointers to it, and that's how it goes.
Album. The list of featured artists is also something not everyone can fully appreciate. Most of the songs part of Indigo have featured artists RM deeply admires. For his neo-soul song, the featured artist is the queen of neo-soul, Erykah Badu. For his funk song, the featured artist is Anderson .Paak, known for his funky style. RM also included artists he admires, but aren't as worldwide famous, such as Kim Sa-wol and Cold. This album also has a lot of references to painters and their art pieces such as Yoon and Still Life. RM's debut album Indigo.
Also, this is like one thing that I've always struggled with, It's like people follow the most popular, or like the most hype and oversaturated stuff for them to feel like, yeah, this is the real thing, when in reality, this guy literally just took a route that normal, like, regular artists wouldn't do it, because, they want to be relevant so much. Not that I'm not saying that he's not relevant, but, I'm saying, like, a lot of people will have hurt their career with this move, but, he took it because it meant so much to him and his identity of music, that, he did his own thing, and it's probably a great album. I haven't heard it, and, like, I'm new to hold this, BTS member stuff. I don't know whose album is which, like, I've seen a couple, but, that's the most. But it's not easy for an artist to do something that, will hurt their streams and, all those kind of stuff that, come with the music. But he did it, because that's just his identity. If you're his true fan, you'll understand, hey, this is where I knew about him, and, this is where I love him the most, when he's doing this kind of work, So he's trying to just give back and, like, go back to where he was. Just because, he's a mainstream rapper now doesn't mean he needs to, put away everything he identified as, at the beginning. No, like, there's just some stuff that you don't lose as a person, which he's doing the best, to keep that. So big shout out to him, man, because I don't know what's with it with this new generation. Is like, if you're not doing anything with a mainstream artist, your work is considered mid or trash, there's no, oh, let's listen and see what value is it in this song. What am I even listening the song for? Is it to know the lyrics? It just sounds, like I know everything, or to actually appreciate what the artist is talking about. It's like, oh, Drake, blah 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 blah. It's like so annoying.
It's for the music fans who care about meaning and art. This is why he chose to have only one physical version of his album instead of the normal two. This, alongside the fact that the physical versions took weeks to be delivered, affected his album sales numbers. But caring too much about that is crazy and shows that you're not paying attention to all the meaning of this project.
Right.
RM purposefully left all the flashy photo cards, stickers, and photo shoots aside. Instead, he made his physical album some type of art piece. The pages are full of poems, graphic artwork, and photographs taken by RM. He also released a vinyl record months after the album
look
debut,
at that.
which, just like the physical album, includes RM's artwork pieces. His third and last performance was at Pt1, a museum in New York.
Okay, guys.
His third
Like, look at this shot, Look at this shot. I don't know how they found location, or, if I am, because this is his work at the end of the day. He should be able to know what he wants and he has envisioned in his mind, right? For his work. But if he's the one who came up with this location, shout out to him, man. This is a beautiful art right here. Just the way it's like, yeah, man, this is crazy.
third and last performance was at Pt1, a museum in New York with no audience. So, of course, most people won't get it. But the ones who can perceive and appreciate RM's passion in this album are the correct people listening and becoming fans. And by all the records RM was able to achieve with such an experimental album, I can say that his minimalistic yet meaningful promotions have been detected by the right people, armies and music fans who care about stuff like this. Once again, this BTS solo project was successfully recognized by its desired audience.
Hey, my boy Jimin, man. I miss this guy. Hey, if you guys got any Jimin stuff that you guys will love me to check out, please run to the comment right now and leave a link, okay? Leave a link. Alright? Do we understand each other? Thank you. Anyways, man, before we get into it, it's just like, I don't feel in the music industry, maybe now people are starting to, analyze and be more critical about, BTS and just the whole level. But the genius behind all this promotion and everything is just insane. Like, I don't see any mainstream artists doing this type of like promotion and everything, Like, they do not do this kind of promotion. Like, with every time a BTS member drop anything, they just have like some crazy package delivered to the fans, or type of shit. Cause it's crazy. I don't see any other artists doing that. So big shout out to the label that BTS is under, and every BTS member that have done the work, and people had a lot of expectation for it, but it met what they envisioned in their mind. So big shout out to them. But let's get back to my boy Jimin, man.
The next BTS member to officially debut was Jimin with his album Face. Face is a pop album, and its promotions were a little closer to a regular BTS promotion schedule. Jimin released teasers for the pre-release single Set Me Free Part 2 and the main single Like Crazy, which he released alongside the full album. This schedule is similar to J-Hope's schedule, which also included teasers and a pre-release single before the main single. On the other hand, RM released teasers and music videos for a main single and a follow-up single, as well as a surprise music video for a B-side, which became an OST. It's important to note these differences, because although some promotions like Jimin and J-Hope's are similar in some aspects, that doesn't mean that they are targeting the same audiences.
Oh, definitely not.
I said,
J-Hope is a whole rapper, man, and Jimin is pretty much pop artist. Or he could be more than that. Nobody's limiting him to that, but you guys can see the difference in style, so
J-Hope's album was targeted at a global hip-hop audience, but Jimin's album was targeted at a global pop audience. And for that, promotions in a show like Jimmy Fallon work better. So Jimin was a main guest at the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, where he had an interview and performed his main single. We also need to highlight that Jimin's interview was mostly in English, so he had to practice most of his answers since he doesn't dominate the language. But this decision of taking the challenge of speaking English made sense since Jimin's main single being promoted in America was the English version of Like Crazy, not the original Korean version. This is also why he performed the English version at the Jimmy Fallon show. Other BTS member will later also attend the Jimmy Fallon show, but his choices will be the complete opposite of Jimin's because his target audience is different. The only other promotion Jimin did for America was a day in the life style of interview for Vogue. Then he started the Korean TV promotions. Like I mentioned, K-pop shows have more superficial interviews and flashy performances, but Jimin's pop songs and difficult choreographies shine the most in these type of settings. J-Hope's Jack in the Box performances don't have choreographies, so they work best in a hip-hop show than in a K-pop show. To still demonstrate a more vulnerable and casual side, Jimin had a lengthy interview at SBS Radio as well as an interview and performance of a jazz version of Like Crazy in the show Limousine Service. These interviews were not as complicated as RM's interviews, but they were still introspective and personal enough to explain the meaning of his pop album Face in an accessible way to global audiences. As expected, Jimin also went to Suga's show Sutrita. Like Jin and RM, Jimin made a video for a popular YouTube channel, and like Jin, Jimin released 2 physical versions of his album. Finally, Jimin was the first member to release remixes of his main single and to have video calls with fans. However, many complain that all of these promotions...
Imagine having a video call with Jimin of BTS. I'll lose my shit, okay? He's probably my bias out of the group, and then... Man, every member just brings something to the table that I love, and, you know, is just unique to themselves, and, you know, it's not just them trying to, you know, take another person's personality, you know, and like trying to, you know, improve it. It's like they just have their own and they have like perfected it the most that they could. So I love that. But just Jimin, to me, I don't know, something about him, man. I love this guy, and also I love every other member of BTS. So shout out to him, man, and every BTS member.
ended too fast because only 2 weeks after, Suga started promoting his debut album. While I do agree that Face felt like a very short era, I don't really see what else he could have done. Actually, Jimin did more promotions than any other member up until this point. It just all went really fast because Suga had a tour plan, so he had no choice other than releasing his album then. Suga also couldn't have his tour later because his military enlistment date was approaching fast, so it was literally then or never. Still though, Suga's album and type of promotions are very different to Jimin's album and promotions, and if there's any new audiences listening to them for the first time, they won't be the same audiences. I also think it's even crazier to put Jimin and Suga against each other and compare their promotions when this opportunity gave us a lot of really cool promotion crossovers. I still understand, however, that the Face era was a little frustrating because since it had some promotions in America, it had success in America, and the American media did not like that. I have a whole video about this problem, but in a few words, Jimin's quote-unquote mistake was not paying for radio and playlisting in streaming platforms, which is illegal and BTS would never. So the sabotage by American media was hard. But again, this has nothing to do with ARMY's efforts, HYBE's efforts, and much less Jimin's efforts. Jimin's schedule was precise, effective, and more than enough. Other complaints appeared when Jungkook had his solo debut.
You know, it's more of like, did the artists, you know, accomplish what they wanted to do? Did they deliver the music and the message that they wanted to do with the project that they dropped? Did it work well? Yes. You know, did it work right on the schedule that they needed it to work? Because at the end of the day, like I told you, these are BTS members we're talking about. These are the guys that have the world on shock when they drop something. Right now, Jungkook is killing it, and previously to that, V was killing it. So you guys can understand where I'm coming from with this, and where, you know, this whole thing isn't, you know, it feels like it's rushed, because after Jimin did his thing, August D had to do his thing because, you know, military service was approaching for him, so he had to, you know, do his thing. So you guys need to understand, man. Like it's hard decisions to make here, and like just improvise for the other person to succeed too, and feel like you did your thing.
Because it looked like he was also promoting for a global pop audience, but he had a wider variety of global promotions. However, I actually believe Jimin and Jungkook's target pop audiences were completely different. I'll talk about Jungkook's debut later, but Jimin's pop style and his new audience that likes songs like Crazy may cross over with the audiences that like these current popular songs by Dua Lipa and Troye Sivan. I know the sound of these songs are not that similar, but I'm just trying to paint a picture. These type of pop songs have a stronger feminine and glamorous element, and they have this disco, house, synth style that it's kind of trendy these days. To put it in BTS terms, both Boy With Love featuring Halsey and Butter featuring Megan Thee Stallion are pop songs, but the general public that likes Boy With Love featuring Halsey is not always the same general public that likes Butter featuring Megan Thee Stallion. Jimin's solo debut is a little closer to Boy With Love, while Jungkook's solo debut is a little closer to Butter, so their promotions are going to be different. Because Jimin's pop style is friendlier to the general public than the other solo debuts up until this point, like Crazy, Set Me Free Part 2, and the album Face broke multiple records in mainstream charts and platforms like Billboard,
That's my boy
Spotify,
Jimin,
and Korean charts.
Let's
the
go.
achievements of other members like J-Hope and RM are different because the promotions were different, because the target audiences were different. So once again, this BTS solo project was successfully recognized by its desired audience.
Hey man, that's gonna be the part 1 of this, documentary of like 41 minutes, because I gotta go do some stuff. But I'll drop part 2 in couple, days or a couple hours. If I finish it before the day ends, then I'll finish the part 2. But other than that, I hope you guys appreciate the input or stuff that I said during the video. And if you disagree with what I said or what they're saying in the video, let me know in the comment. It doesn't hurt to give your point of view and see where other people stand from. So you guys let me know in the comment. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and go check out the stuff that I already did that that are being showed here. Like I did Set Me Free by Jimin, and I did Arson by J-Hope. So you guys go check it out. I already did like official reaction to them, so go check them out. All right, and I'm gonna see you guys in part 2. Peace.